So, let's see if our character manages to get to Fastoon.
You are now entering Fastoon. Touching down in.
If I recall correctly, one of these cutscenes towards the beginning, unfortunately, has audio desynced. I tried my best to fix it, but I don't know what happened. It might have been a glitch from my Elgato back then.
Maybe that, or maybe that little bumpy landing they had caused it.
Okay, no, it's not immediately, but it will be soon enough. Anyway, again, Fastoon is the planet that, as mentioned in the previous part, is apparently supposed to be some property of a Lombax, but as you can see, it has seen better days. But Ratchet is just waiting for the shoe to drop, which is not gonna be that, later on. Yeah, no, I'm not using a 6-axis. Move on, game.
What the? Where is everyone?
I tried
Whoa.
to tell you, Ratchet.
Why was I stuttering on that cutscene?
Like I said, that's probably the glitch that caused the desync.
Clank, you
Possible.
see that? It's an old ship.
Very old, it would seem.
Yeah, I thought for a second there, I thought they were going to find a Lombax skeleton or something.
Fix her.
Can you
Ratchet,
imagine?
must be practical. Tachyon will find the pod's flight codes. He will be here any minute.
Clank, please. I need.
Not to mention, Clank, I mean, the ship is what they need to escape, so, might as well.
Like, I mean, they seem to be treating this like it's Ratchet being super sentimental, but nah, I mean, it's practical anyway.
So yeah, most of your action here on Fastoon is to recover battleship parts. Anyway, as you can see, new weapon type, and again, even if I don't use the 6-axis, it shoots out a mini tornado. So if you wanted to reenact your wild Twister fantasies, I don't know why you would do that, but here you go.
Dare I ask if there were some special powers locked behind the 6-axis, wherein, okay, in Mario Odyssey, there are you can technically do every action without the motion controls, but I believe you could do like some super-powered versions of some of them better with the motion controls.
While you're doing the spin dash, you can use the motion Joy-Con of the Switch to actually increase better your velocity, Mario's velocity. Yes.
Pretty much, yeah. So, was there anything like that with the 6-axis, or was it just no?
It
You can
supposedly
do.
offers better control to some of the projectiles, but I honestly have beaten the game perfectly fine. So, without that.
So basically, yeah, there's technically extra benefit, but is it worth suffering the 6-axis? No.
The answer obviously is no.
You know, again, I don't even throw shade at the 6-axis in concept. I get it. Motion controls were really the big hip thing, especially with how the Wii was selling, not just like hotcakes, it was selling like the entire damn world's bakery.
It's time to see what the Clank sections are in this game. Instead of the gadget bots, you get to help the Zoni.
Destroy what?
I don't remember who the Zonies are voiced by, they basically have the same VA. But virtually the controls are the same. You ordered the Zonies to do the same things you will do with the gadget bots, but as you can see, they also have peculiar extra powers which allows a better, type of puzzle solving skills.
Little Green Men had quite the makeover.
They do sound a bit like them, don't they?
First and foremost, the slowing down of the time.
Of course.
Also, they allow Clank to just levitate. Okay. Again, there is a bigger supposed reason why the Zodies are doing this, which will ultimately be revealed in Crank in Time. But part of me does wonder if it was always the intended way, considering how some plot elements feel like have the feeling they've been changed in the meantime. But again, that is speculation. For all we know, that was always the intended plan. Also, good to report. I'm happy to report that the zonies are better in defending themselves compared to the gadget bots. So there is that.
So apparently these enemies can see the zonies and hurt them.
Well, to be fair, some of the damage was done by the obstacles rather than the actual enemies. So
Still, though, it kind of just begged the question, though, how these zonies work. Which maybe okay, I don't remember if we find out all the specifics of how they work, but it's very clear that
it's established at the very least in the next game, the mini game, quote unquote, before a cracking time, Quest for Booty, that it's pretty clear that the zonies decide themselves who can see them and who cannot. They choose themselves. So, for all intents and purposes, they kind of are a bit of a dick towards Ratchet, but there is probably a reason to do so. But it's something that the game doesn't tell you completely. But again, I'll discuss this when we get to at least at the end of Quest for Booty.
basically for now, they're still technically corporeal. They can just turn invisible.
Yeah, it's because they apparently transcend space and time as beings, thanks to also their manipulations. These, again, would be expanded more in Tracking Time.
They can be touched, but they can also be unseen. Okay.
There's also a thing that I haven't mentioned yet, as in the title of the game, Tools of Destruction. Again, it's perfectly fine, mind you, I don't really have a problem with that. It's also the first major Insomniac-made title that did not have any particular changes in European countries outside of a literal translation. Though I do wonder, Dibs, can you check in the meantime what title Japan had for this game? I am curious.
I think I already said this is the first feature game, right?
Yes. Right. You told me that it's just
Ratchet and Clank Future.
It's just Ratchet and Clank. My bad. So that is technically different. But again, for example, for my country, why it's translated, but in a way that it basically makes it less ambiguous and says instead of tools, it's about weapons of destruction. This is tied to the game's still presence of Satar material, mind you. It's a bit more subtle when you get down to it, but it reflects the time this game was made, you'll be able to see. Also,
It definitely...
the enemy types in this game are these chicken... Hell, I don't know what they're supposed to be.
It definitely just seemed like a game that came out around 2007, like... It's got some edge, but it doesn't have as much edge as, say, the earlier 2000s.
Which is weird, because, the late 2000s still pretty much had plenty to, I would like to remind you that right at the cusp of the 2010s, we did get, stuff like the first Nier or Spec Ops The Line, which were all games about sensationalism and shock value to reinvent the formulas tied to game storytelling. So... is another gimmick of the Zoni. Occasionally they give, add more visions to Clank, and if I recall correctly, associated to weapons.
Ominous.
But that's what we were looking for, the ship component. The Lombax flight component.
But yeah, in regards to the later 2000s being less edgy, this is specifically for media that was accessible to kids. What I mean by that is, obviously stuff like Nier or whatnot still had its good edge, but that was stuff more so for adults. As for stuff, though, that kids could watch, say stuff that was rated G, PG, or... I don't recall the specific TV ratings, but you get the gist. Anything that could be seen as being potentially targeted to kids, I do notice kind of soften the edges down a bit. Like, compare kids shows in the early 2000s to shows of the later 2000s, especially post 9/11, and you do see that they kind of took away a lot of the teeth from stuff that kids would be exposed to.
Can you do me a favor in the meantime? Can you check me? I think I know the general, period of time, but I want to be sure. Can you check the airing period in terms of years of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds? Okay, while not going into the occult shit that Duel Monsters and GX did, 5Ds still had, it's definitely its edgy, type of aesthetic and things going on. The entire setting is literally a dystopian future, so...
I should know, when I'm talking about edgy stuff, I'm not talking about aesthetics or whatnot, but more so about tone stuff for what would be allowed. And to be fair to 5Ds, that was an anime, one that apparently 4Kids for the most part did not disrespect.
Well, that's not...
2008 to 2011.
Yeah, so basically right around that period. Again, no, my point being that, I don't know, I still believe that it was present to some degree, It's just that... I don't know, I do believe that, the only real major changes started happening with the next console generation of the PS4, Xbox One.
Feel like, okay, with the PS3, you can kind of understand why Sony were trying to push more of the realistic stuff to show up the graphics. And, yeah, some people grumbled about it, but for the most part, I think the idea was it's a phase, because Lord knows the PS3 itself was quite a phase. I think people only really started to have a big issue with it when it seemed like Sony were continuing that mentality into the PS4, with them being like, oh, well, of course we'll give you your cartoony platformer. Here's Knack, who's totally just as good, right?
I mean, part of me actually wonder if a genuine, Marcus Burke certainly at least did, but in general also they exactly believed that Knack could have been a genuine fresh start and a solid IP they could rely upon for the PS4 era, and it just...
I'm not sure about that, but they did genuinely believe Knack would be their Mario killer, because for 1 week it outsold Mario 3D World, which, yeah, we've already torn into why and that now was dumb.
And now that the title has been dethroned thanks to Mario Kart World.
Yes. But, I mean, yeah, no, regarding why I really do consider this also something that I can tell came out from 2007, and it being less edgy, it's also that, remember, they're going for, or at least the idea seemed to be, take ideas from Pixar, essentially, like, and yeah, I could honestly see this being compared to a Pixar adaptation, video game-wise, in looks overall, like, Ratchet definitely has more of that cutesy expressions, as opposed to, the more, hard jock ones. Yeah. Which, again, I don't mind entirely, but I do get why some people kind of grumble in regards to what they call the Pixar era. Like, again, I feel like, aesthetic-wise, I get why they played Follow the Leader a bit with there, especially going into a new generation like the PS3. I do, however, think that they didn't need to shift the tone, but we can probably attribute a lot of that to the fact that they were getting... What the heck?
Okay, then. We'll investigate at least later. Yeah, for the sake of not spending too much time, I'm speeding out the rest of the component searching. Gone.
But, yeah, no, I think, like, we can probably list a lot of reasons as to why there was the tonal thing, to the fact that they got a new main writer. Obviously, there would still be the team to maybe do some pushback, but I'm guessing they just moved with that. Maybe they also, obviously they did not hate the original trilogy from what I can know, but maybe they didn't want to risk things getting too stale or whatnot, so they changed things up a bit. I've heard some people say that we might be in a whole new era now, again, as of Rift Apart.
Well, honestly, considering the troubled development cycle that Rift Apart did had, and what Insomniac did immediately after with Spider-Man 2, I don't really know, honestly.
Yeah, also, can I just say, I'm very troubled with the fact that it's a growing possibility that we might legit only get one new Ratchet and Clank game for the entirety of the PS5's run, because now there's rumors that the PS6 might be around the corner, and if that is the case, I'm placing my bets we're going to see the new Ratchet and Clank game on that instead. And mind you, part of that is probably just due to Insomnia taking on way too many projects. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm not the head manager of a big video,
because it did, despite everything, they still managed to wriggle around during the PS3 era. It's mostly the fact that because of the more complex hardware and demands imposed by the publisher, developers take too much time and effort to make a game, so it's not a sustainable effort. Anyway, let's plug this baby in and see if we can manage to fix her, as Ratchet said.
This. Yes? Yes!
Thank you. Okay there?
It's working. It's working.
And it talks.
Oh.
Lombax.
A talking ship. Okay.
Hey, that's like in Wall-E. Okay, it technically
That's
wasn't the
no
ship, but the
question.
ship's AI, but I digress.
All we need now is for a future Star Trek show to have the fucking Enterprise talking. Then we'll be complete.
If they had won the Great War, the entire universe would have fallen under their terrible rule. Unpleasant, dreadful, dreadful, dreadful little creatures from planet Zurich. Tachyon bought their loyalty with...
I can tell that
that's the reason why Tachyon is having that army at his disposal.
I couldn't say, really. Probably to steal their technology. All his ships, his enforcers, even the nanotech combat armor he gave the Drophids, are all made using stolen Lombax technology. I am sorry. My memory bank seemed to have been damaged in the crash. The last thing I remember was laying down suppressive fire over the court of Azimuth.
Azimuth, interesting name. Anyway, let's check the holovid.
I'm equipped with an HD47 optical holoscreen. Hop in.
How convenient.
And yeah, this ship will actually be Ratchet's vehicle for most of the future saga, because of that.
Nice.
Mad for mayhem, crave carnage, adore destruction? Well, today is your lucky day. You have been invited to participate, witness the greatest, bloodiest, goriest battle in the universe. The Imperial
I'm sorry,
Fight
Dead Zone
Festival.
was cancelled ages ago.
Remember, this universe has like at least a dozen gladiatorial sports going around at the same time.
Isn't the Galactic Federation supposed to be cracking down on those?
Insomniac, you already did a Death game series in your last game that you made.
I guess to be fair, Dead Zone itself did establish that most of the Galactic Federation
This is not
went
too
on.
different from the arenas that you got in games 2 and 3, for example.
What you said is pretty much what I was getting at with Insomniac taking on too many projects. Like, yes, back in the PS3 and God forbid, maybe even the PS4 era, they could take on this many projects, but with the development that I don't know whether Insomniac themselves or Sony demand for now, taking on as many projects as they do is not healthy.
I mean, here's the introduction of more side villains. Captain Robus Slag, voiced by Robin Atkin does.
This guy looks like he came out of a Rayman game.
He's a pirate, he's a robot, he's a space pirate robot. So, that also serves to excuse for David Bergeron to actually, like I said, basically have a bunch of music that is clearly inspired by the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
I dig it.
occasionally you will get these segments with the ship where you actually have to. Again, they're similar to the Gummy ship missions in the early Kingdom Hearts games, as you can see. In Castle Shooter or
My
Star Fox
favorites.
for before that gone.
My favorite is still Kingdom Hearts 2's with just how cinematic and engaging the gummy ship missions are on those. But yeah, no.
I argue they got a
Go
bit
on.
too fast on that for for it to be for them to be enjoyable. I think three had the right amount of balance and they had the excuse to actually allow an Highlander Easter egg in that, so I can't complain on that.
I'm waiting for just the right sale on Steam to give Kingdom Hearts 3 a retry. It's been a while since I played it, so I do need to give that one a reevaluation. And this time, I guess not one hampered by my huge expectations for that game. But bringing things back to Insomniac here, it's like. And yeah, maybe this is an issue with Sony as a whole, because as the joke goes, the PS5 don't have games. Okay, buzzword aside, though, the PS5 has had that long-running issue where game production is so costly and so big that they'll release a game, it'll likely be a success, but not enough of a success. So while they're waiting on whatever new big title comes, they eventually port stuff to PC essentially. Like, I mean no disrespect to the PS5 whatsoever, but I have been able to coast just fine with my Switch, PS4, and gaming laptop as a result, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a good soundtrack. It is a bit random, though, but yeah, Ratchet and Clank is no stranger to having some random stuff happen every now and then. I'm honestly kind of surprised it took us this long to get Space Pirates.
Well, there was something already in one of the Holo comics from the third game. So
Well, you know what I mean, though. Something that's not potentially
now it says something
Quark's,
for Star Wars because it's
imagination.
Clank operating the turret of the jet pilot, fucking like
R2D2
fucking,
style.
R2D2. Again, these sections are also not particularly, difficult to handle when it comes to turret stuff. So at the very least, you do not have the pressure, going on. So I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Of course, gotta show off how big those set pieces are with how giant that ship is.
Yeah. Connected to also what I was saying, what you were saying. Honestly, if it was a case where the scope of the games in themselves actually were not that big, I honestly wouldn't mind that because as Astrobot showcases making a smaller scale but with enough of an aesthetic and charm to it. Works pretty much fine on the PS5. And the problem is that as admitted in an interview, the entire reason why it doesn't happen because Sony has this very stubborn mentality that every single one of their releases has to be of the maximum quality possible in order to deliver the best possible experience. And I get that on paper, but I think time and time again it has shown only the fact that there's general stagnation, too much time in developing, and games being basically a gambit that they put on. And if it doesn't work, it actually bites them in the ass big time. Again, looking at someone like Square Enix instead, where they had many releases, but because they actually allowed themselves to not have every single thing being on the same level of budget, time and effort of, say, Final Fantasy VII Remake Rebirth, they managed to actually cover much more ground in terms of their dormant APs or making new ones to experiment, but they allow themselves also to have blunders and taking them, as a result, while they had perfectly other, good stuff to have. Yes, the better outcome obviously would be to actually have every single game being a hit, but, I'll take that over whatever Sony is doing where I have to pray that their next game actually is gonna be, at least interesting to look at. Anyway, tune in for the next part where we reach the planet that Steven told us to go through. See ya.